Let us reset the stage. It's hero time. You are the hero. You like to think of yourself as a pretty reliable and swell guy. Your life has been rather ordinary aside from the occasional heroic adventures fighting evil monsters and whatnot. You're told a maiden from your village has been kidnapped and is likely being held captive at a nearby demon overlord's castle. Who even puts a village right next to where an entire demon army hangs out? You don't get it. You are happy to protect the townspeople, though. You were born to play this role. You head off on your adventure to rescue the maiden. But demon soldiers block your path. You could kill them to gain experience. We'll flee like a coward. Forgetting your pride, you escape with your life. But you can't return home now. Your reputation will be ruined. You wonder how you'll ever be able to rescue that maiden all on your own if you can't even fight some lousy demon underlings. You'll take your chances at the castle. You're a hero after all, this is your job. On your way to the Overlord's castle, you spot a maiden heading back toward the village. She couldn't have come from the Overlord's castle, could she? This may be the exact maiden you're currently seeking to rescue. You approach her with curiosity. You ask the maiden what she's doing. Doesn't she know the Overlord's castle's like right there? It's dangerous. The maiden explains that she spoke with the Overlord, and it turns out the demons never had any diabolical plans to harm the village or anyone in it. We'll believe her. You have no reason to assume she's lying to you. Even though her story is kind of hard to believe, you feel you should trust her. You tell her you're pretty surprised that everyone has been wrong about demons all along. The townspeople must be informed of this immediately. The two of you return to the village. They had all been so worried. They praise you for your bravery. But the maiden quickly sets the record straight. There's nothing she needed to be rescued from in the first place. The villagers look to you for explanation. You politely inform them it isn't your story to tell, you merely ran into her on the way back to the castle. She explains that the Overlord isn't interested in capturing maidens or anything of the sort. The villagers turn to you again in disbelief. They aren't being subtle on how little they trust this maiden's story. You totally believe her, but to placate these fair citizens, you volunteer to speak to the demons personally, just in case. The crowd breaks into hushed whispers. You're too busy thinking what a great and reliable hero you are to hear what they're saying. The town elder's voice breaks you out of your thoughts. He implores you to meet with the Overlord immediately and says they'll all keep an eye on the maiden until you return. You figure that sounds alright, but the mood is kind of intense for some reason. Do you miss something? You aren't sure what's going on, but you get the feeling it might be bad to leave the maiden on her own. As you stand there, not sure what to do, the maiden announces that she's going to prove her story to the village. She drags you along with her. She has much better odds with you around, so you don't object. Adventure awaits! But about halfway there, the maiden suddenly stops. Something's not right. Oh, the Overlord's castle is engulfed in flames! She suddenly takes off toward the burning castle. Panic sets in, and you follow to try and stop her. The smoke is so thick, you've already lost sight of her. What is she thinking? It's too dangerous to continue. You feel hopeless. You stand alone at the castle's gates. Your body won't allow you to take another step forward. No, going in there would be suicide. You return to the villagers, and tell them there was nothing you could do. You were too late. The maiden was claimed with the demons. Bystander, hero, and B. Huh. I honestly thought that would maybe go somewhere else. I will. Let us reset the stage. Yet again. It's underling time. You are a demon underling in service of the Overlord. You aren't particularly strong, but not particularly weak either. That's what your friends tell you. Your job is to guard the castle and keep humans away. It's unbearably boring. Heroes rarely come all the way here to challenge the Overlord anyway. It's a lot of standing in one place, staring into nothing. You feel like you're going to go crazy if you don't get a break. You decide to ask the Overlord for a day off. She gives you an earful about responsibility and unquestioning obedience. You wait for her to finish her lecture before returning to your post. What does she know about anything? Who made her the boss of everyone? You complain about the Overlord to your friends. They agree that she is kind of a snob and totally deserves to be kicked off her throne. You only wanted to vent your frustrations, but the conversation somehow turned into an assassination plot. You should probably steer this in a responsible direction. Let's overthrow her! No, you're sick of this Overlord holding you and your friends back. You agree that it's time for a change of management. Your friends suggest maybe you should be the new overlord. You like the sound of that. You announce your first act of rebellion is to take that day off like you wanted. Your friends aren't very impressed. You assure them you'll talk more about the assassination thing when you get back, which satisfies them. You sneak out of the castle to have some fun. The change of atmosphere excites you. You spend some time rolling around in the grass, wild and free. As you make your way along the path to the nearby human village, you encounter a maiden. She greets you and says she has a favor to ask. You consider your options. I kind of want to eat her, but I think we'll hear her out. You're in a good mood today. You're rather curious about what the maiden has to say. Humans don't usually talk to you, so this is kind of exciting. You hadn't guessed it would even be possible to understand each other before now. The maiden is going on and on about some kind of destiny she's trying to fulfill. The bottom line, from what you gather, is that she wants you to take her to the Overlord. Sounds like it could be interesting. Besides, you have nothing better to do. Satisfied with your day out, you take the maiden back to the castle and present her to the Overlord. The Overlord asks where you found this maiden, knowing full well that you left the castle when you weren't supposed to. You apologize for disobeying her, but hope that the maiden is an interesting enough present that you may be forgiven. The Overlord nods and says everything's cool as long as you always listen to her from now on. You're impressed with what an easygoing boss she is. You mention how you can't believe you and friends even considered overthrowing her. She gives you a look, and you say, that was just a joke, of course. She smiles and dismisses you. You decide it's about time for a nap. You don't get to sleep long. Your friends wake you up. Rude. One of them is stepping on you pretty hard. You ask them what the deal is. They say they're planning a whole revolution. They're going to get rid of the current overlord and put a new ruler in place. They want to hear if you're in or out. And being a pretty lazy underling, you of course reply with, that sounds like a lot of trouble. How about we just skip it instead? Your friends question your loyalty to their cause. Okay, let's kill the Overlord. You tell them you were just joking and clarify that you're totally in it to win it. They say you are always terrible with jokes. Whether or not you actually feel like killing the Overlord, you know how bad it'll be to end up on the wrong side of things. And if this assassination deal doesn't pan out, you can always pretend you were innocent all along. But beneath your shield of faux confidence, you worry about what you're getting yourself dragged into. You follow your friends outside the castle to talk more about the plan. You're curious if they have any idea how they want to go about this. They figured they'd just lock her in a room and set it on fire. What a stupid plan! That could go wrong in so many ways. You realize your friends are just a bunch of directionless thugs, useless without someone's guidance. Your guidance! There'd probably be casualties if you fought her head on, and while showy deaths make a revolution a heck of a lot more fun, it's probably the wrong way to go. Your friends agree and suggest that you play the assassin. You really don't want it to come down to this. But you can't back down now. You'll have to be the one to assassinate the Overlord. Besides, no one has any better ideas. You and your friends turn to notice a pair of humans have overheard your entire conversation. Uh-oh. They take off into the castle. Are they headed to the Overlord's room? Fuck. The Overlord will kill you for sure if she found out you were conspiring to take her out. You dash into the castle after the humans. Sure enough, the maiden is already frantically telling the Overlord everything. You shout that the humans are liars! Your friends soon arrive to back you up. Except they don't. Instead, they blame the whole thing on you. They cry that it was all your idea and that they were just going with the flow, too scared to refuse your crazy plan. You can't believe they'd tell the Overlord such a blatant lie! You always knew better than to trust them. You're the one who didn't have a choice here. You all shout at each other until the Overlord demands silence. Regardless of who led this conspiracy, I have no choice but to punish everyone to keep you all in place, crushed beneath my heel. She sounds tough, but lately all she does is sleep. You doubt her strength. You hear your traitorous friends mutter something about going to Plan A, and suddenly the door slams shut. You're trapped in here with the Overlord and the two humans. And then the room bursts into flames. You pound on the door, screaming curses at those who betrayed you. The hero joins you, vowing to slay the lot of them. You wish he'd get that chance. The Overlord grabs you by the throat. You cry for mercy. You were forced into this mess. You're sure now that they would have killed you if you'd sided with her. But the Overlord doesn't hear your pleas. She drives her claws into your chest. At least, she made it quick. Traitor, underling, and... Poor underling, can't catch a break. Let us reset the stage yet again. It's Overlord time. You are the Overlord. You live in a castle surrounded by your demon servants. It's a pretty cushy life, you think. Except for those pesky humans who keep killing members of your army. There's even a role called Hero, whose whole purpose in life is just to dethrone you. What's their deal anyway? You've actively avoided pissing off the humans in hopes they'll leave you and your army alone, but they never do. You're still new to the whole Overlord thing. If you're being quite honest with yourself, you don't really understand the politics of it. But you remind yourself everyone is just doing their best to fulfill their roles. You won't let them bait you into being the evil Overlord they expect. You think you're pretty cool and mature to hold yourself to the higher standard like that. One of your underlings walks into your room, totally interrupting your thoughts about how awesome you are. They're saying something about how boring it is to stand in one place guarding the castle all the time, especially since no one ever comes here anyway. You see their point, but the way they're whining about it kind of bothers you. What to do with this underling? Get to work! You give them a lecture about responsibility and unquestioning obedience. Your servant ought to do what they're told, unless they like it, whether they like it or not. They look really unhappy with you, but you're sure they'll thank you for this later. Venturing too far from the castle tends to spell death. You dismiss the underling and lie down in your nice and comfy Overlord bed. All that lecturing made you want to take a nap. You fall asleep pretty quick. Just another one of your amazing talents as the Overlord. You wake to a knock on your door. The underling from earlier brought back some company. You thought you told that underling to do their job, not drag strangers into your room? Looks like they took an unauthorized break away from the castle. You scold them, but ultimately you're a little interested in this guest, so you let them off easy. That underling's not so bad. It's a maiden from the nearby human village. She says her role is to be captured by you. The maiden then goes on to say that she's been getting very impatient thinking about her impending capture, so she's come here to speed things along. You appreciate her honesty, but regret to inform her you never had any plans to capture any humans. She seems very disappointed by this. Perhaps I'm not performing my role well enough. How can I become more maiden-like? You don't really understand the question? You think this world puts way too much focus on destiny and junk. Just go home and stop worrying about it, you tell her. The maiden seems to be having a hard time wrapping her head around this. She insists that she stay and talk to you more. You feel warm inside as she looks into your eyes. This is the first time a human has looked at you without contempt. What? Oops, accidentally looked at the settings. You wonder what to say. I will tell her she'd better go home. You'd love to have all the conversations in the world with your new friend, but having a human girl here will definitely cause trouble. You put on your mean face and tell her to get lost. The maiden does what she's told and takes her leave. You figure you may as well go back to bed now. But you don't get to rest for very long. The maiden suddenly bursts into your room, accompanied by a hero. She's trying to frantically communicate something to you, but you're still half asleep. They tell you a group of demons is after your life. You still don't grasp the urgency of the situation. One of your underlings barges in next, shouting that the humans are liars. They're followed by another group of demons, crying that everything was that first underling's plan. Everyone is shouting over each other now, and it's very annoying. You yell for all of them to shut their traps. You have no doubt that your servants would let their ambition cloud their judgment and lead them to try to take your throne. Regardless of who led this conspiracy, I have no choice but to punish everyone, to keep you all in place, crushed beneath my heel. Saying that made you feel very Overlord-like. You aren't sure if you have the strength to back it up, though. Lately all you do is sleep. The group of demons start muttering something about going back to Plan A, and suddenly slam your door shut. You, the maiden, the hero, and one of your underlings are trapped inside. In an instant, the whole room is in flames. The underling pounds on the door, cursing at their friends for betraying them. The hero pounds at the door as well, vowing to slay the cowardly demons on the other side. So this is how you'll die, burned alive in your own room by those you thought you could trust. You should have expected this from a bunch of idiot demons, though. You notice the maiden crying. Why did she have to die over something that has nothing to do with her? Perhaps she was cursed from the moment she spoke to you. You wonder if you're cursed as well. You're so filled with anger and frustration, you don't even notice that you grabbed the underling those traitors blamed everything on. They cry for mercy, saying that they were dragged into this plot knowing they'd be killed if they took your side. They cry that they didn't want to have you to kill you. You almost feel sorry for them. You forgive them. You release the underling. Killing them wouldn't make you feel any better. Besides, they've already gotten their punishments. You'll all burn together. Huh. Overlord's true end. Oh, that's the true end for the Overlord? Huh. Well, that's sad. Before you're taken back to reset the story once again, you pause for a moment. What? We getting like all meta on the narrative now? What the heck? True end, you say to yourself? What is the point of all my effort if the true end is this terrible? That is actually what I was thinking. Very clairvoyant of you, game. You must have forgotten where you were. This is bad end theater! Is the pain setting in? Oh, but you should have been well aware of what you'd been shown when you entered this place. It's a problem I've seen quite often. At some point, you grew attached to my little cast. You started to relate to their flaws, their plights. You started wishing for their happiness. But you aren't going to find that here in my theater, my lovingly crafted labyrinth of suffering. Anyway, I hope you'll pardon the interruption. You're making great progress. The choice to continue on to the next ending is always yours. I'll leave you to it, dear guest. Huh. But it almost feels like the game is challenging me now to find the good endings. Like, there must be one here somewhere, right? Let's reset the stage yet again. I wonder if the hero can do anything, given the current flow of events. You are the hero. You like to think of yourself as a pretty reliable and swell guy. Your life has been rather ordinary aside from the occasional heroic adventures fighting evil monsters and whatnot. You're told a maiden from your village has been kidnapped and is likely being held captive at the nearby demon overlord's castle. Who even puts a village right next to where an entire demon army hangs out? You don't get it. You're happy to protect the townspeople, though. You were born to play this role. You head off on your adventure to rescue the maiden. But demon soldiers block your path. You could kill them to gain experience. We will flee like a coward. Forgetting your pride, you escape with your life. But you can't return home now. Your reputation will be ruined. You wonder how you'll ever be able to rescue that maiden all on your own if you can't even fight some lousy demon underlings. You'll take your chances at the castle. You are a hero after all. This is your job. On your way back to the Overlord's castle, you spot a maiden heading back toward the village. She couldn't have come from the Overlord's castle, could she? This may be the exact maiden you're currently seeking to rescue. You approach her with curiosity. You ask the maiden what she is doing. She doesn't know. The Overlord's castle's like right there. It's dangerous. Or doesn't she know? The maiden explains that she spoke with the Overlord, and it turns out the demons never had any diabolical plans to harm the village or anyone in it. We'll believe her story. You have no reason to assume she's lying to you. Even though her story is kind of hard to believe, you feel you should trust her. You tell her you're pretty surprised that everyone has been wrong about demons all along. The townspeople must be informed of this immediately. The two of you return to the village. They had all been so worried. They praise you for your bravery. But the maiden quickly sets the record straight. There was nothing she needed to be rescued from in the first place. The villagers look to you for explanation. You politely inform them it isn't your story to tell. You merely ran into her on the way to the castle. She explains that the Overlord isn't interested in capturing maidens or anything of the sort. The villagers turn to you again in disbelief. They aren't being subtle on how little they trust this maiden's story. You totally believe her, but to placate these fair citizens, you volunteer to speak to the demons personally, just in case. The crowd breaks into hushed whispers. You're too busy thinking what a great and reliable hero you are to hear what they're saying. The town elder's voice breaks you out of your thoughts. He implores you to meet with the Overlord immediately and says they'll all keep an eye on the maiden until you return. You figure that sounds alright, but the mood is kind of intense for some reason. Did you miss something? You aren't sure what's going on, but you get the feeling it might be bad to leave the maiden on her own. As you stand there, not sure what to do, the maiden announces that she is going to prove her story to the village. She drags you along with her. She has much better odds with you around, so you don't object. Adventure awaits! When you make it to the castle, you spy a group of suspicious demons hanging around near the entrance, and you can't help but overhear their conversation. They're talking about assassinating their overlord. This proves to you that the demons really are foul creatures. We have to tell her about this. You'll understand what the maiden is thinking. The world is better off with less demons. They're all cold, ruthless creatures that should be destroyed. And those same creatures have just noticed you eavesdropping. The maiden takes off into the castle, and you have no choice but to follow her. You burst into the Overlord's room. The maiden frantically tries to communicate what you've just overheard. A demon underling barges in next, calling you liars. It's followed by the group from the entrance, who shifts the blame back onto the little one. These demons only care about themselves. How low can they be? You begin shouting at them, and the whole room dissolves into noise until the Overlord yells for everyone to shut their traps. She threatens them with violence. This Overlord is no better than her subjects. You grip your sword tightly. If you have to cut through everyone here to get this maiden to safety, you certainly will. The group of demons hiss to each other before shutting the door, leaving the runt of their litter behind. You glance around for another exit, but there isn't one. You have a terrible feeling about this. In an instant, the whole room is in flames. What kind of demonic magic is that? The underling pounds on the door, upset that it's been betrayed. You join in, vowing to slay the cowardly demons on the other side. The next moment, the Overlord has taken hold of the underling. It's crying for mercy. Is she going to kill it, as retribution? It continues to cry and make excuses, but the Overlord does nothing. To your surprise, she lets it go. Are demons capable of mercy? You guess it doesn't matter now. You'll all burn together. Hero's true end? Really? That's the hero's true end? What? No matter the perspective, the true ending remains the same. That's what makes it true. You couldn't resist seeing it for yourself, though, could you? I wonder what will happen when you collect them all. Will you give in to despair, or reset the stage?